One thing you gotta know about me is that I love Oppenheimer. Fucking love that shit. It is a masterpiece in every sense of the word. Culmination of generational performances, some of the best editing of the decade, one of the best scores of the century, unified through one amazing directorial vision to bring together something that is gripping, engaging, and ultimately devastating. One of the best movies of the decade. I love it so much. And this Christopher Nolan guy, well, he's made some other movies too, and a lot of them are pretty good. So needless to say, I had high expectations going into the Odyssey. Even when I thought it looked like mid-tier Nolan after the first few trailers. I mean, that's still a pretty high bar. The middle of my Nolan ranking is like The Prestige, and that's a great movie. And God, where do I begin? The best word I can use to describe this is overwhelming. And that's usually not a good thing, but here, it kinda is. There's so much that happens in this movie, and the third act recontextualizes all of it in such a way that you kind of live through that first 2.5 hours a second time, and by the end, you have to process not only how heavy and tense the story was, but how much of a filmmaking achievement it was. A lot of Nolan's films really benefit from second viewings, and this is maybe the most prominent example. The first two acts are chock full of some of the best set pieces you will find at the movies this year. The crafts of this movie are just ridiculous. It is no secret that this is mostly practical, and the use of real-life locations, the insane production design, practical effects, the costumes, it all gives this not only a tactile feel, but a rough and heavy one. In each set piece, you can feel how harsh and painful the given scene is. Like, turning into pigs is a tough situation. Being molded into them? That was crazy and a little disturbing. And it's backed up by probably my favorite part of this movie, which is the sound design. Simply put, the sound here is loud. It enhances the effectiveness of each set piece so severely. Whenever we're on that boat, the sound is basically its own character. You can feel Poseidon's rage and how overpowering the sound of the waves are. But while that's good, I mean, we all know what water sounds like. The most interesting bits are when the story gets more fantastical and the film has to invent new sounds. The Cyclops is my favorite set piece in the movie for many reasons. Firstly, it fucking looks insane. The sideways eye is such a creative design. It's towering and scary, backed up by the minimal lighting in the scene. The fact that he looks so real adds to how tense the scene is. But oh my god, the scream it lets out once these guys blind that motherfucker, it shook me to my core. I almost started crying. If I had to pick one, that's my single favorite thing in the movie. However, unfortunately, while the sound design is really great, the sound mixing is as bad as it ever was. This is a problem with most Nolan films. Between the sound and the score, half the dialogue in his films is unintelligible. And aside from Tenet, this is maybe the worst example. Thankfully, if I can't hear the dialogue, I can at least listen to the score. Ludwig Göransson, oh my god. Real talk, he's the new John Williams. The score in this movie sounds ancient and tragic. Odysseus' theme carries guilt, yet also has a hint of hope in it, as if to indicate his eventual return. The siren song is fucking beautiful. I want to jump off the ship and go get murdered by a mermaid. And with Sinners and Oppenheimer, it's not even close to his best work. He simply can't be this good always, man. It's not fair. And also, Jennifer Lame is doing God's work. Nolan in the 2000s and 2010s had a running theme of having great editing overall, with films that were paced expertly, with individual scenes featuring a lot of questionable cuts. However, Oppenheimer is editing perfection, and the Odyssey keeps the trend going. So many different characters to follow, keeping up intense energy ongoing for so long, and she makes it look easy. I would call her his Thelma Schoonmaker, but I think she's better than Thelma Schoonmaker. One thing I'm a little disappointed by is the performances, and that's to say that while everyone's pretty good, I don't think anyone's exceptional. Obviously they all range from good to great, but I feel like after every single person who spoke in Oppenheimer ended up giving a career-defining performance, I just had slightly higher expectations. Anne Hathaway, for example, is the current Community prediction on awards expert to win supporting actress, and while she's great, win? Nominee, sure, I could totally get behind that. She has plenty of really emotional, powerful scenes, but wins a little too far. Matt Damon is really good as Odysseus, but if I may be so bold, I think I prefer Ryan Gosling in Project Hail Mary as the blockbuster leading man. At least until Dune comes out. Robert Pattinson is my pick for the best in the film. He's not doing anything new, but like, he's Robert Pattinson. Like, yeah, of course he's great. Also, they cut to a flashback a few times where the kid playing him just has to be a relative of his. There's no way they just found a kid who looks exactly like him. The weakest link is definitely Tom Holland, but even then I think he holds his own in most scenes. Aside from like 2 moments where I felt him dragging things down, I don't think he was bad here. Other highlights include John Leguizamo, Jon Bernthal, Lupita Nyong'o, Zendaya, Elliot Page, and Samantha Morton. One performance I felt the need to bring up because I haven't seen anyone talk about him is Himesh Patel, who to my surprise was basically the main character outside of Odysseus' family. He's probably the person who interacts with Odysseus the most, and I think he did an excellent job opposite Matt Damon. The third act is definitely what makes the movie though. For the first 2 acts, I was thoroughly enjoying myself, but it felt like something was missing. I was on board, but I was questioning where Nolan was steering towards. When I tell you, it hits. The twist in this movie is that he basically made Oppenheimer again. A film about guilt, about destroying civilization, but this time also about building a new one. Zeus's Law keeps being brought up in the film, and for a while it kinda just feels like a plot element that exists to keep the story going, and then it ties back into the larger themes in such a devastating way. There's also a twist about Athena and about the sea people that keep being mentioned that reinforces Odysseus' guilt in a really heartbreaking way. Like Oppenheimer, the final shot is haunting, a reminder of what has been done, how it led to a chain reaction of pain and destruction, and how it torments not only the protagonist, but the entire world. For 150 minutes, this was a spectacular movie with filmmaking talent you just don't see anymore. And it actually turned out to be a profound movie about guilt, mistakes, and the downfall of civilization that makes a phenomenal companion piece to Oppenheimer. And like I said, I love Oppenheimer. 9 out of 10.